Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up. Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we are discussing Wide Ocean Big Jacket, the sequel to the Cake song Short Skirt Long Jacket. And joining me, as always, to discuss video games is Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Big fan of Cake. Who isn't, though? You know what I mean? One of the best scenes in, no, that's not the song in Charlie's Angels. Never mind. Okay, so this week's fun fact comes courtesy of The Atlantic magazine.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. No, this is, I mean, they fuck up a lot, but this one's good.
Okay.
So this article is called "An Entire Group of Whales Has Somehow Escaped Human Attention." So apparently, the scientists recently think they discovered a new species of beaked whales. And beaked whales are very elusive. Now, we hardly ever see them. But one of the reasons they're so elusive is because they are incredible divers. So they can dive beneath the surface miles, potentially, and they can stay down there. Longest recorded is 3 hours and 42 minutes. And they can do a lot of cool stuff to stay down there. They can collapse their lungs completely and divert the flow of blood to prevent nitrogen bubbles, basically prevent the bends.
Wow.
And they can seemingly manipulate their heartbeat at will. So they can make it go faster, make it go slower, depending on what they're doing. Very cool whales. But one of the things I wanted to highlight from this article is it's a metaphor that confused me, I'll be honest. So I'm going to read it to you real quickly. It's only 2 sentences. So the whale stayed beneath the surface for 3 hours and 42 minutes. Very cool. But here's the confusing metaphor. This is the equivalent of getting back to the office after your lunch break, then holding your breath until the workday's nearly done. I'm just confused, like, who needed that context for 3 hours, 42 minutes? It's not even the whole workday. It's almost half kind of the workday.
Yeah.
I feel like the writer was, like, captured by this. The editor tried to take it out, and they refused.
Yeah, that really does seem like they really wanted to have look, regular folks don't understand time. They understand the workday. Working people in the heartland, they won't understand if I put 3 hours and 42 minutes. I need to give it something. Look, when you go down into the mines for your second shift,
there's no sun.
It's about 4 hours, right? So that's how you have to describe it.
I could definitely see the Atlantic pulling something like that. Like, they don't have regular time in Illinois like we do in New York.
Minutes? No one understands minutes. We need to describe everything in sections of the workday.
Capitalism has come for everything else now.
So, logistical question here.
Yes.
Where's the beak of the whale? Is it like a narwhal situation?
You can think of them, they're basically overgrown fat dolphins.
Oh,
that's like the best way to describe them.
They're husky dolphins?
Pretty much, yeah.
So they're like a porpoise, kind of? I guess porpoises are smaller than dolphins.
Yeah, porpoises are smaller than dolphins. They're slightly bigger, but like they have like that sort of bottlenose kind of shape to them.
Okay.
And like the history of interactions between them, the Atlantic article detailed some of that. Absolutely horrific. So, like there was a story about, as I like to make my animal fun facts as grim and horrible as possible, they told some story about like, yeah, here's how we learned a lot about beaked whales. One came into the shallow water, and a group of teens beat it to death with baseball bats.
Human teens?
And we learned. Yes. No. Beaked whale teens and their baseball bats.
Oh, God.
Yes, human teens beat this whale to death, and they were like, but, science learned a lot from this beat-up whale carcass.
Was this the
and
50s?
We wonder why they don't want to come up for air very often.
Why they're staying down there, like, as long as possible. Like, it is horrific up there. It was in 1955.
That sounds about right. That sounds like teens. Because I was trying to think what teens would bring baseball bats to the beach for whale beatings. I guess the 50s, that seems like the peak of teens walking around with baseball bats and switchblades.
Yeah, before we knew, like, the environment was a thing.
Just lead poisoned and
Just beat a whale to
angry.
death. Sure.
Oh man, that's amazing. Now I'm just imagining these whales just telling horrific stories. Look, Jeremy went to the shallows once and he never came back. We don't go to the shallows anymore.
No. That's why they spend their time like 2.5 miles down.
Ugh, that other voice you heard was M. Palladino. Hello, M.
Hello. Yeah, I had some things to talk about, but then whales were being beaten with baseball bats.
Sorry.
This is gonna segue us in nicely to our mean teens discussion in a little bit.
Well,
They're right to stay as far away from us as possible. I don't blame them.
very fair. Yeah, so before we get into Wide Ocean Big Jacket, we've got a couple of things of housekeeping. More housekeeping than normal because the Giant Bomb Community Endurance Run is this Friday,
Woo!
Woo.
Yeah.
April 9th through 11th. It is our 6th or 7th annual of these. Wild. We are raising money once again for Pencils of Promise, which is a charity that builds schools, trains teachers, and sends kids to school in developing nations. Right now, we have our goal set at $15,000 across everyone. So we've got a bunch of cool events that are happening. From the hosts of this show and our spin-off show, Off the Deep End, you can expect some content from myself and Zombie Pie and the host of the other show, Jeff Rude. So for me, I'm going to be playing the Final Fantasy trading card game on Friday, immediately after Giant Bomb's Unprofessional Fridays stream. I'm going to be doing a Mortal Kombat style ladder where I start with bad opponents and then work my way up to folks who have gone to U.S. Nationals and Worlds. So that's going to be a fun contest. M, I'm going to be playing you. I believe I have you penciled in at second. I'm assuming you are better than ZP, but worse than people who have gone to Nationals.
It's hard to be worse than ZP from what I've been told about his game.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's just doesn't know how to play.
Yeah, that's the thing. He doesn't know how to play. Doesn't know how it works very well. He will occasionally stumble across correct lines of play that are technically correct, but he doesn't know why anything's happening. It's like, a child with a pinball machine. It's just lights flashing.
Yeah, as we've learned, I will eventually learn at least one play that I can do successfully. So
Yes.
that puts me a little bit above him,
Yes.
but not by much.
And you've got all that Magic the Gathering to lean on, so you've got a little bit more grounding in the mechanics of the game.
True.
So yeah, that will be Friday. Saturday we will be competing, ZP and I, in a race of Final Fantasy II streams. So we will be streaming Final Fantasy II for 10 hours, and we will keep track of how far each of us get in that godforsaken game. Whoever gets further in that 10 hours wins. We are expecting that we will probably die and have to restart, because this is a Nuzlocke challenge. If a character dies, we cannot revive them. So if someone dies, you can keep going or you can restart right then and there, but there's no just using the ordinary mechanics of the game to get around to death.
Gino, forgive an ignorant question, but why do they call it a Nuzlocke challenge?
Em, do you know that?
I can explain this.
Yep.
Okay.
This is from a Pokemon Ruby Sapphire comic strip that
This is
was
already crazy, but I love it.
Yes. So they basically set rules for themselves. Like if a Pokemon faints, you can't revive it. You have to release it from your party. You have to nickname everything. They named it the Nuzlocke because their Nuzleaf was actually named Locke after the character from Lost. And that rule system has stuck around because people are always looking to play their Pokemon games weird. And so now we have the Nuzlocke and no one knows what it means. But
Yeah.
That's the origin.
That sounds it's pretty much exactly what I should have expected.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why didn't you think of that?
Yeah, so I'm going to be playing some FF2 for just a stupidly long amount of time. I will probably have a second game going at the same time to try and make the stream more interesting, because watching me grind FF2 characters up to the point where they don't die instantly is real boring, and I bet I'll have to do that a bunch of times. So that's going to be happening on Saturday, and you can donate to have a character named what you choose if you would so like. I am happy to name my characters based on donation incentives. So go ahead, donate, put in names. If you want Furion, everyone's favorite characters from Final Fantasy, Furion, Maria, Guy, and Leon, who I expect to never see Leon in my runs. If you want to name them, feel free. And then Sunday, ZP and I will be teaming up again, and this time we will be teaming up to play Roller Coaster Tycoon. But wait, that sounds like a relatively normal stream. That's not what you people do. Correct. So instead of that, we are going to be having a series of prompts of different horrible Roller Coaster Tycoon tasks that ZP will be tasked with as a Roller Coaster Tycoon expert. I have curated a series of Roller Coaster Tycoon challenges, which in an hour he will have to try his best to fulfill. Just a preview from a previous Roller Coaster Tycoon stream we did, I gave him a prompt where he had to create a roller coaster park in the ocean, a series of islands, and he could not construct land. He had the islands were the islands, that was the land he was allowed to use. You know, that sort of thing.
Don't you need land to build your roller coasters?
It turns out that you can actually build some support structures down to the foundation of the ocean.
Ah, I see.
So you can have...
Does it cost extra for the pylons?
I think it does. I think it's more expensive.
How they get you.
Yep.
So I think for that one, we mostly use rides to get from island to island so that people could travel well. Because it felt really out of spirit to build boardwalks between the islands. So yeah, look forward to that sort of thing. Yeah, so it's going to be a fun time. We've raised money now for Pencils of Promise of quite a few years, and we're excited to be back at it after COVID kind of forced us to, do a COVID charity last year because it was the number one most pressing thing in the world. So now it's nice to get back to helping out education, because if there was one thing that was really disrupted for kids, it was their education over the last year. So glad to help out there. Other housekeeping, you can always get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can send in. You can also go to deep.lol, which is a new place where you can find the podcast, our vanity page. We do not have any emails for today, but you can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens, and if you do so, you get access to our Discord, where you can talk with the hosts of the show and all sorts of other folks, fans of the show. And if you do so, you might end up on the Discord report.
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This week on the Discord report, I forgot to announce the opening of our complaints department. I put up a channel for complaints about the Discord, about anything else, and mostly it was about ZP saying things. So if you would like to lodge a complaint, feel free to do so in our complaints channel. Other than that, I watched Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive today.
Oh, the Netflix one?
Yeah, it was on Netflix, and I was like, I need something that's in English while I'm playing something else. So I was like, I could watch this. Whenever Aaron Paul is in anything, just think of Jesse Pinkman. So that threw me off, but overall, it's a pretty good movie.
Aaron Paul's in that?
Yeah, he plays like the main guy.
He plays Nyx.
I forget his name. Yeah. Yep. And everyone's favorite Final Fantasy 15s appear.
Noctis? Ignis?
No, not that one. Not that one either.
Oh.
So I guess not everyone's favorite.
Lucci?
Which one?
Lucci?
I don't even know
Crow?
who that is.
Crow's in there.
Crow shows up.
I know that these characters exist because of the trading card game. Crow's really good. Lucci seems to be a jerk. I think I know what he does based on what his abilities are in the card game. And I think I know what happens to Nyx based on what his card does.
I haven't seen the cards. That was the next thing I was going to also mention. The new Opus is coming out. We've got an episode in the can. Do you want to spoil that?
Yeah, sure. So we have an Opus 13 set review in the can that will be coming soon, the new set of the Final Fantasy trading card game, and the part of like my FFTCG segment in the GBCR, that will be Opus 13 legal. So I've been playing a lot of that. I've been getting some games with folks on the Discord, whoever will play me, honestly, because I want to get practice. This set's fun. It's very cool. And we will probably have a Listen to the Magic for Strixhaven, the new Magic the Gathering set, in the not-too-distant future as well. It's Harry Potter themed. It's basically Harry
Sorta.
Potter. It's basically. Pete, tell me if this sounds like Harry Potter to you. It's a magical school. There are 5 different houses, each of which has a funny name and a general aesthetic that you are sorted into, and they specialize in different things.
So it does, but if you swapped Magical School out for anything else, you would have basically any other YA property.
That's true.
Ooh, got him.
Yep.
Don't you know Harry Potter was canceled this year?
I mean,
We can't talk about Harry Potter
It's
anymore.
true.
That's fair. That's fair. So now we only talk about Strixhaven.
Yes.
The superior property, anyway.
Yes, we talk about Strixhaven and Club Winks. Is that the same thing? That's a
Can
thing.
we still talk about the Divergent series? Because I would totally be dauntless.
Are they? Oh no. Do they have
Man,
different groups that they get
throwback.
sorted into?
Yep,
Oh no.
but there's no magic.
Okay. Did they kill though?
Yes,
Okay.
I think maybe.
There's definitely a political uprising they have to participate in,
Always.
from what I remember.
There is.
Sometimes always political uprising.
Yep.
All right. Anything else in the Discord we need to go over?
Let me just check the food channel. Oh,
Always a threat.
Peepsy.
Oh yes. Pete, have you
Ugh.
heard of Peepsy?
I have.
This is
what's going on with
unfortunate.
Peeps these days, guys? Come on. Pepsi too. Pepsi's been. I mean, Mango Pepsi, Pepsi Coca, and now
What?
this.
What's Pepsi Coca?
It's Coke. Yeah, it's. I don't even know if they actually made it. It was hot cocoa flavored Pepsi,
Oh.
and they
Ugh.
called it Coca Cola,
Ew.
which is
Oh.
like genuinely funny, but it can't possibly have tasted good.
Okay, because when you say Pepsi Coca, I'm like, oh, they put the cocaine back?
Yeah, I didn't go that way.
Oh man, yeah, Peepsy. So I bet ZP's gonna drink Peepsy at some point on one of our
Oh, of
shows.
course. He's gonna find one, and you're not gonna expect it.
Yep.
It's probably gonna be the next Final Fantasy podcast.
If
Put
I had
my
to
money
guess.
on. Yep.
Fun Peep fact before we move on to the main show. Pete, did you know that during a labor strike at the Peep factory, they used the chant, "No justice, no peeps"?
See, this is why labor organizing is so much fun. Shout out to Amazon's unionizing workers.
Did that actually, do we know that went through? Did that go through? Or are they
No,
still
I'm
counting the
they're
votes?
trying to. I think they're still counting votes.
Okay. All right, without further ado, let's talk about Wide Ocean Big Jacket. I'm going to my brain just always goes short skirt, long jacket. Wide Ocean Big Jacket. Pete, since you picked this, why don't you explain what is Wide Ocean Big Jacket?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to take long. It's a camping trip. You are on a trip with a young girl, Mord, her boyfriend of weeks, months, some small amount of time, Ben,
3 months, I think.
3 months,
Good
already
for Ben.
longer than I thought it was going to be. And then her aunt and uncle, Brad and Chloanne. And you just go and you have a family camping trip. That's basically exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, so the gameplay is largely walking around the campsite, walking from the campsite, and walking to the campsite. Sometimes you have to pick stuff up. Sometimes you have to walk over to a person to talk to them. But that's pretty much it.
There is a bird watching interlude. You know, things get a little crazy then.
That was my favorite gameplay moment. Was looking at the birds. I expected there to be more bird fun facts, though I guess I'll raise this gripe here. I don't know where this is supposed to be. What park is this supposed to be?
It's a good question. It's like right along the beach too, but also in the woods.
It's along the beach, but also in the woods, and I saw cactuses, I think, in the foliage, and I saw a cardinal in the bird watching section, which are only indigenous to the east coast of the United States. I don't think that this place could exist.
It's every campsite ever.
You're right. You're right. It's really a spiritual place. It's Jung's archetype of the campsite.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this, it's a cool little slice of life game. So we see Mord, Ben, Brad, and Chloanne.
Brad.
Early on, we kind of realize that Mord is Chloanne's niece, and so they have gone on this camping trip.
Yes. Well, I think technically Mort is Brad's niece and Chloanne is Brad's wife. So her
Okay.
niece-in-law.
Okay,
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I was unclear on which person was related to Mord's mom. But yeah, you basically just set up a campsite and then have little fun talks. So which of the kind of discussions, because there's not much gameplay to speak of, the plot is also very short. The game's like an hour start to finish. So what moments really stuck with you from Wide Ocean Big Jacket?
So I will say this, the game is very short, and like most video games, the dialogue's kind of weird. I haven't really like encountered a game where I thought like, ooh, good dialogue. But it's actually a very funny game in certain moments. So the part is a very small part, but one of the parts I like the best is there's this whole sort of, let's call it a mini game. Let's be charitable. There's this whole mini game where Mord is trying to find some place to go to the bathroom outside. She's camping. She thinks this is part of the experience. So she goes around to various places and eventually finds a bush. You know, won't belabor the point. She goes to the bathroom, and then to celebrate, she yells "Yeehaw!" And then the park ranger immediately yells, "Hey, who's that hawing over there?" Which, for whatever reason, I still think is hilarious that he yelled out, "Who's hawing over there?" So that's one thing, not the biggest thing. We'll talk about other things, but that's one that I think is going to stick with me.
Yeah, the peeing section actually had a surprising amount of gameplay choices you could make.
Yeah.
It was probably the most open-ended, that and the bird watching. Like, you could... I tried to have her pee in multiple bushes, and she kept not doing it because they were not the right one. And then I saw a bush near the park ranger, and I said, no, I'll be caught by the park ranger. So then you have the option to go give up and use the bathroom if you go to either of the bathrooms. But there is a men's bathroom and a women's bathroom. And I went to the men's bathroom.
A very weird moment, that.
Yeah, and so Mord goes, isn't this the men's bathroom, though? Ben will have to see this at some point anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. They're both 13. Like, that's a big step in a relationship.
Yeah, it was a weird moment, but it's a moment you can have if you want.
I didn't even attempt that because I was like, it wants me to pee in the bushes. I'm going to pee in the bushes. And so I found one like right in front of the like bathroom house thing. And that's when you get in trouble. There are a few bushes around the campsite that you can like try to go in. And then it's like, no, there's too many people around or something.
Yep.
But I didn't actually, I thought I would be giving up if I actually went into the bathroom, which Mord also shares the sentiment of.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of funny that you can... I thought I was still transgressing enough to go in the men's room that Mord would be okay with it, and I think it was a little bit funnier. I don't know what happens if she goes into the women's restroom. But yeah, these are the sorts of things that happen in Wide Ocean Big Jacket. So this game also has just a ton of general horniness, I would say. Mord...
Oh my god, so much. Everybody's doing it.
All Mord really talks about or thinks about is Ben and relationships, and Brad and Chloanne have some talks about that. Pete, what did you think of the general horniness? Did you feel like it was appropriate for the camping and for the,
So that's my question. You know what I mean? Like, let me share something about myself with you people and our listeners. I've never really been what I would call an outside sex guy. You know, there seems like that extends to pool sex as well, not my jam. But it seems like there would be a lot of logistical issues because like there are people doing it on the beach, in tents, you know, wherever they just happen to be at the moment. And I feel like there'd be like grit issues, I guess, is my largest concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bugs as well.
Yeah, like a very serious concern. I don't like bugs like anywhere, let alone near my nethers.
Yeah, I feel like on the beach there'd be a grit issue. I feel like almost anywhere else there's a hard surface issue. Like, no one wants to be lying on the ground.
That's a good point, too.
Also, you don't want to be standing near trees. I don't know. All seems logistically dubious. And these teens, I guess there's just teens making out on the beach. They're not...
Yeah,
they're
Which is
clothed.
true. It
we
seems
should
like that's
specify they're not doing all this in the game. We don't actually see any of this.
Well, you don't see it, but Chloanne does say that she masturbated at one point during
Yeah.
Yeah, also, like, you're on a camping trip with your niece and her 13-year-old boyfriend. Maybe wait 2 days. You know? Like, I don't know how, you know, desperate this emergency was. She was reading a romance novel.
The
But wait a
birdwatcher's wife.
Yeah. Like, pump the brakes.
It cannot be emphasized enough that they share a tent, that all of them are just in one big tent together. So, yeah, it feels very risky. She was taking risks, making moves. And what did you think of the general horniness of this game?
I mean, it's very much like one of those coming of age, like Mord is dealing with her first boyfriend, and it's a confusing time, as the PSAs say. But I thought that the conversation she had with, what's her name?
Chloanne?
Chloanne. I thought that was like good to clear the air on the subject. Chloanne was like, listen, you're gonna do all this stuff, but don't do it here. Please, God, not on this trip. Just whenever you are out of my jurisdiction, do whatever you want. But I don't know. That was probably the horniest part where Mord was like, hey, what's sex like?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not having this conversation, please.
She's like, I really didn't expect to have the talk today. Can I get a cigarette?
Yeah.
There was another real good joke in that scene. I don't know how many people pick it up. It's a French joke. So she says that she's going to go to sleep, and she calls sleep the big death. Or,
Yeah.
the big death.
Yes.
And Chloanne's like, no, like I think that's, when you die. And she's like, all right, the little death then.
Yep.
It was like the long sleep.
The long sleep.
Yeah.
There we go.
She's like, no, that's not it.
I was like, that's when you die. And she's like, all right, the little death then. And
Uh-huh.
Chloanne just sort of rolls her eyes, which is funny because the French term for an orgasm is petite mort, which is the little death.
Yep.
That was another
Yeah, I
sex
picked that
joke.
one up.
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't
good.
know that.
Yeah, that was good. I liked that Mord was like, so I'm 13. Is that old enough to have sex? And then Chloanne's like, no. And she's like, well, when did you first have sex? And she's like, I was 15. Oh, so like 2 years. Okay. It's like, no, no, that's not.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. She's like, you can, but like you don't have to, I guess.
But you don't have to, and do it with the right person and in the right time, and not here. God, not here.
Or another good like sequel to this conversation was, I forget if it was depending on like what order you go with at the end of the game, you hand off a stick. It's like a ceremony they do. And like you basically say something nice to the person who gets the stick. And there was a whole conversation about using protection with Ben.
What?
And he just doesn't get it. Like Chloanne just like, all right, well make sure you guys like use protection whenever you play any of your games. And he's like, yep, we always do. Shin guards when we play soccer. And she's like, yeah, but like, use protection. And he's like, yep, helmets, we got it. We're covered. And she's just like, all right, fine.
See,
Yeah,
you clearly went a different order than.
Same.
I watched all the orders
Oh.
on YouTube. I cheated.
Look at you with your
Valid.
permutations.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just went in the circle. So beyond the horniness, there's also like the teenness of all of it. I feel like Mord and Ben. I mean, Mord and Ben and Brad and Chloanne kind of have their own sections to themselves, and I think the mean teens section was pretty good slice of life. Mord and Ben are going to the beach to try and have a moment alone, and they get harangued by teens making fun of them for no reason, which I thought captured being a teenager pretty well, or being 13 dealing with 15-year-olds.
Yeah, and they all get good
Yeah.
names like Thirsty Teen.
Skinny teen.
Like I think there was a Hoodie Teen or something.
Yep.
I will say, so like one thing I was thinking about while I played this game is I think it only works retroactively. Like I think if you were actually 12 or 13 playing this game, you just wouldn't really get it.
Yes.
Whereas like if you're an adult looking back at being 12 or 13, it becomes much truer, I guess, or it feels much truer.
Yeah, this game works much better if you are nostalgic for the age of Mord and Ben, but familiar enough with the life of Brad and Chloanne that you can really resonate with all of the characters involved.
Yeah, there's a very sort of like narrow late 20s, early 30s window, I feel like, to this whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Mord is, like, everyone's pitched up a lot, except Ben. Ben is pretty normal, pretty run-of-the-mill. But a lot of the other characters are punched up a lot to make them a little bit more exciting, and it works better as a kind of callback to an earlier era, to kind of give you the emotional feel of a moment.
Is there an age limit to being a manic pixie dream girl? Like, is Mord too young?
That's a good question. How old is Zooey Deschanel in Elf?
Early 20s? Yeah, something like that.
Mid-20s, maybe?
Too young for Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
Always. Almost certainly. Though Will Ferrell always looks like he's been in his 30s perpetually.
That's true, too.
He looks
Yeah.
like he's mid-40s to me. I don't know.
But he's always looked about that age, which is the weird thing.
Yeah. Some people just have that face,
Mm-hmm.
What were you talking about before
Is
Manic
Mord-
Pixie Dream Girls?
Yeah, is she too young?
to be a manic pixie dream girl?
I would say yes. I put her in the same category as Amber from Dream Daddy.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's
a good
why
call.
does this keep happening? There's something about teens written in games where they're always like, particularly teen girls, they're always very like quick and always have some witty thing to say, which I think is a sub-genre of Manic Pixie Dream Girl, but I don't know what I would call it.
Butterfly soup syndrome?
Maybe.
That's a good question. It would be like, I can understand why writers do it though, because like real teens are the worst. Like,
True.
if a game was based on a real teenager, I would stop playing it immediately.
Just being angry for no reason.
Yeah, it's like, that's why I hated Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, Catcher in the Rye fucking blows.
I mean, it blows, but it also blows because Holden Caulfield is one of the most authentic teens possible.
Yeah, no, it's like
That's
very,
fair.
very well done and horrible. Like it can be, it can be both those things.
Yeah, Holden Caulfield's central difficulty in Catcher in the Rye is that he understands how the world works, or he's starting to learn how the world works, and people are like, yeah, this is how it works. He's like, well, that sucks. You're all sellouts and phonies and losers. It's like, well, sorry, Holden. This is what adulthood is. Sucks to suck.
It's like, while we're talking about teens, have you ever read Clockwork Orange?
Yes.
Yes.
So, just a quick fun fact about Clockwork Orange. In the British version, there's an extra chapter that wasn't printed as part of the American version, at least in its original run. And in this last chapter, it's basically the leader of the gang realizing like, this kind of sucks. Like, I don't really want to wreak havoc and ruin people's lives anymore. I think I'm going to stop, which is like kind of a cool ending. And for whatever reason, the American version was like, no, teens are terrible. Everyone sucks. I'll just, kill people the rest of his life.
How did it end in the American version? They just didn't
They just
have
lopped
that?
off that chapter. So it ended with, let's ruin Clockwork Orange, but it's been out for a while. So he goes
Spoilers for a 50-year-old book.
He undergoes that like training, that desensitization training, and it doesn't work, and he goes back to his old life in the gang, and it cuts out there. In the British version, it keeps going, and like he gets a little older and basically grows out of it. Which I don't know if you grow out of sociopathy, but apparently he does.
Then I might have read the British version when I read it.
I think I did too.
Because I definitely got the chapter.
Yeah, it's a better version, so you got the better one.
Though, look forward to the characters from A Clockwork Orange in Space Jam 2.
Damn it, I was going to say that.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Em, did you know that, what is it about Space Jam 2?
Space Jam 2
Has
Clockwork Orange characters in the background.
Really?
It also has the Iron Giant, a bunch of random, I don't know what the licensing is, where you could just take the Iron Giant and put it in your thing. But clearly you could just do that now, because Ready Player One did it. They're
Fucking
doing it
Ready Player
again.
One. It's a shit book.
Pennywise, the dancing clown, is in Space Jam.
Pennywise is also there.
I think the Night King from Game of Thrones is in there.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, so you can, the Scooby-Doo and the gang.
This is a weird verse.
I mean, most of them are just in, like, the background of basketball. Like, they're just in the crowd. But it's just very weird to me that they got the Clockwork Orange guys. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What a specific group.
To cheer on the Looney Tunes playing basketball with LeBron James.
Strange.
Very
choice.
odd.
A bit of that ultra-violence.
Yeah, you should watch that trailer, just pausing every couple of seconds to see who's in the background, because you will see some weird characters.
Yeah, I enjoyed LeBron James trying to come up with his dream team. Like, okay, so we need the Iron Giant. Clearly, we want him playing center. And they're like, nah, you have to play with the Looney Tunes again.
No, it's like, oh, you mean we have this, 4-story tall murder robot, but we're just not gonna. Oh, cool, okay.
Okay. All right, I guess Lola Bunny's our shooting guard then? Okay.
It's like, look, we got to get the ferry market, and the Iron Giant's just not bringing them in, if we're being honest.
It's true, despite that dunk. All right, so back to Wide Ocean Big Jacket. There is a kind of more somber moment, I would say, other than kind of the teen, heart-to-hearts and general horniness. There's also a moment where Brad and Chloanne kind of get a moment to themselves, and they discuss having kids, which is a pretty tonally different moment from the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think, Em, about that discussion?
I mean, we see it kind of often in like drama and stuff, where one person is like, I really want to have kids, and the other character is like, I don't want to have kids ever, no way. And so Brad is really into the idea, and it seems to be implied that he was thinking about it for a while and probably agreed to this trip because he was like, maybe if I show her some children, she'll want to hang out with kids and also have one with me.
It's a well
And
thought out plan.
yeah, which that's not how that works, for the
Nope.
record. If you don't want kids, I don't think seeing kids in action is ever going to change your mind.
Yeah, Brad's like, you did a really good job with that sex talk. You'd probably be a good mom.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was miserable. I was smoking. Like, I hated every second of it.
Yep.
As someone who both does not want kids and has been in a few long-term relationships, I've approached this conversation before. And let me just say, like, Brad, not doing a good job. Like, this is one of those situations where you need to sort of accept what your partner's told you and been like, oh, okay, like, this is who they are. I'm not going to try to change them.
Yeah, and I think that from Brad's perspective, like, coming in and saying, hey, I agreed to this before, my opinion has changed slightly, can we discuss it? That's one thing, but, like, when he brings it up, it's very much, like, a little bit pressuring. It's clear that he's engineered this moment kind of to try and get Chloe to open up about it again. I think it's a pretty realistic depiction of the conversation, like Brad kind of engineering things to try and make it a topic of discussion that's appropriate once again. Chloe being like, no, it isn't, and we've had this conversation before, and I'm not having it again. I think that they do a good job of having the conversation be fairly direct without either of the characters really impinging the other, and also having the resolution be final without it destroying their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a lot of fiction like this, they like the fact that there's a difference of opinion on kids is the terminus. Like, that's the only thing that matters in the relationship. And at the end, Brad's like, okay, I can accept not having kids. Because spending time with you is worth it. You know, having kids is not the entirety of my life, which is interesting. Like, usually I feel like in most media properties, once that conversation happens, either the person who doesn't want to have kids is won over and then the tension is resolved that way, or the person who doesn't want to have kids leaves and the relationship is dead. So I thought that it was interesting depiction. It's something that I didn't expect out of this game.
Yeah, definitely didn't think that it was going to be talking about this going into it. I don't know if there's a middle ground between, like, I want to have kids and I really don't want to have kids that it could have reached, but I think the conclusion it did come to was like the way it had to end up.
It could have been
tone
like
of the game.
Yeah, it could have been like, look, we'll just adopt a 14-year-old, and then
Yeah.
it's like 4 years and we're out.
Yeah, adopting strictly late teens. That's the
Mhm.
move, or fostering, I guess. But I don't know. That's not what Brad wants, and Chloe didn't like spending time with 13-year-olds, so it doesn't seem like it's going to work out either way.
I will say I feel like Chloe's the hero of this game, at least for me. She's probably the best
Yeah.
character. Smokes a lot. You know, I'm not a smoker, but, you know, we all have our vices.
Yeah, Chloe's just trying to have a good time in the woods with her husband and these two annoying kids, and I feel like that's just something that anyone can relate to.
You don't think Ben was the hero of this story?
Ben was very good, too. I like Ben just kind of going with the flow, being helpful, not being just constantly horny.
He is a 13-year-old guy. Like, that would have been an easy get.
Yeah, Mord is trying to jump his bones constantly, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. I just need a flashlight because I'm scared of the dark.
I'm going to dig a hole in the sand.
That was a good life tip, you know? If you're feeling nervous in a new environment, use an activity to build confidence.
Yeah. And Ben definitely had the best campfire story.
It's true. That was brutal.
Yeah,
The rats in the sink.
that was messed up.
It was terrifying. And then Clan's like, did that really happen? And I was like, dear God, if he says yes, this game is taking a turn.
We were worried when we picked this game that it might take a turn. I was like, oh no, is this the moment? Is this gonna go this way? But then it didn't, which thank God.
Yeah, I know, right? There was some weirdness with sort of like Ben has his own arc, kind of, with his parents. It's like it seems like Ben's parents are headed for a fairly imminent divorce, at least as far as Ben is concerned. And like he talks to Brad about it, but it's never really like resolved. But I guess like how do you resolve something like that in a 90-minute camping game?
Yeah, and I mean, it's unclear if Ben's parents are actually having tension or if Ben says, I read a statistic that 50% of all marriages end in divorce, so there's a pretty high chance that my parents are going to get divorced. But hey, if my parents get divorced, then Brad, you and Cleanna will be fine, because that's how statistics work.
Yeah,
That's
looking on the bright side.
Yeah, so it's unclear to me, much like how Mord is like, what is sex? Because it's a thing that she's heard about and is interested. Ben is like, divorce, I don't really understand it, but chances are that it's going to happen to me.
Like, Ben should just stop reading. Like, he's just like, yeah, look, I don't know what the bubonic plague is, but like it happened to a lot of Europe. Probably going to happen to me.
Fair enough. Yeah, so there is kind of a post-conclusion series of chapters that you can opt into where you play as the park ranger and the guy who sells wood, and they go on a little adventure. You played through all of them. I played some of them. There's not much game to Wide Ocean Big Jacket. There's not much gameplay to it. So I kind of got my fill after the main arc. But, was there much to the extra chapters?
Not especially. I mean, I think they had these character models, so they wanted to do something with them. So they had them go around on the little go-kart that they have, go to the beach, and the mean teens from earlier are there.
Yep.
One of them has lost their phone. You pick up some trash on the beach, and then eventually you get your friend, the Woodman, to help find the phone. I spent a while walking around because I was like, where is it? And then I ended up in his radius and his name popped up. And then you talk to him and you're like, can you help me? And then you walk like 5 feet and then he's like, it's over there. Like, I spent like 15 minutes just walking up and down this beach really slowly. And then the teens go on their way. You guys go back to the camp signboard. Take a look at some of the things up there. There's a little character backstory. The Woodman talks about his son, or I don't know. It was a ambiguous name.
Mm-hmm.
And the park ranger kind of hits on him a little bit. Who knows what that's about? I'm not sure if it's meant to be read as that or if they're just sort of, just casual friends.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I played the first chapter, and the whole time couldn't tell whether these characters were flirting or if it was just the residual horniness of the main game that I was reading it into everything.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember any of the dialogue? I didn't play these chapters. Maybe I can venture an opinion.
So, like, the park ranger asks about like the wood guy. So it's Alan is the wood guy and Merrill is the park ranger.
Got any wood? Like
I mean, no, it was like, so I heard you go down to Florida, down to Sanibel Island. He's like, yeah, would you ever want to go sometime? Like with us?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, you want to take a trip? He says something to the effect of, he found a flyer on the board that was like, thanks to that attractive wood salesman. And so he goes to Alan and is like, I saw this on the board. Kind of pokes fun at him a little bit. And then he's like, you're not mad about that, are you? You're a handsome guy.
You're a good listener. You're handsome.
Yeah,
you're a good
exactly.
friend to have.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it sounds pretty flirty.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there ever any resolution here?
No.
In the chapters? No, they just continue to do things and then have witty back and forths?
Pretty much. They just ride around on the go-kart, kind of flirting with each other, kind of just hanging out.
Do the teens heckle them as well? Are the teens mean all the time?
No, one of them doesn't respect authority figures and is like, you must be a cop.
Nice.
And he's like, no, we don't have a police officer on staff. I'm just here to help. And she's like, I don't trust anyone with a hat or something to that effect.
You're just the cop of the woods.
Exactly.
Nice. Teens.
But mostly the teens are like, we got to find this phone.
They're mostly distraught.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I played that chapter. Then maybe we played the same amount because I think there are more chapters of these two. I think there were like 5 chapters. Did you finish after the phone, or did you keep going after that?
Was there a phone? What
So
was the
you
phone?
find the cell phone, and then
Oh, yeah.
they, golf cart back.
Yeah. I mean, chapters is putting it generously. The chapters are basically like the scenes.
Oh, okay. So then maybe
Yeah.
I saw the entire thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think you get to the end is the back at the board, and you have that little conversation. Then actually, the flirtiest part was probably at the end where Meryl is like, he's like, he mentions he has something back in the like box, the ranger station.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, do you want to check out this like bug thing or whatever? And then you just see the building. I'm like, they're making out in there.
Oh,
That's
They're not
pretty flirty.
actually, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was a pickup line. But who knows?
yeah.
Maybe I'm just reading into it.
I read into it the same way. I choose to believe that this is the weird, awkward flirting of 2 people in their probably 50s and 60s. I feel like that would be, I don't know, feels like the vibe that this game has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like park rangers too, like, aren't known for their Lothario ways. Like, that could be his best game.
Yeah. So one last thing I want to discuss before we finish. The color palette in this game, there's a lot of yellows, peaches, some blue for the ocean. And I found that it was pretty hard to distinguish the land from the sky in a lot of cases. Like the background color and the foreground color were not that distinguished. And I really wish that this game, I mean, I know that there were a lot of just kind of small environments with a skybox, and the skybox was basically monochrome, but just a little bit more differentiation. Even if it was dreamlike, it didn't have to be realistic. I just found a lot of the game looked very similar and very muddied because it was all the same handful of colors, and it did not work for me. It was hard to distinguish things beyond like the character models and the 2 or 3 trees that were in frame at any given time.
Yeah, it was very blocky. And there was some sort of, I guess, questions of what's going on in the background. I'll voice my little gripe, too. Was there any jacket in the game?
I did not see one. Oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
Yes. The one teen has a big jacket.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Mord wears Ben's jacket to the beach, and it's hanging
Yes.
up on a stick.
Okay. All right. Then
That's-
I forgive them their titular transgressions.
That's why she started dating him, is because she was like, I saw teens wearing jackets,
You're
like
right.
their boyfriend's jacket.
You're right. I forgot that story. That's how all good relationships start.
Of course.
Yeah, I borrowed my girlfriend's jacket, immediately ripped it in twain, and I'm like, oh, we'll be together forever.
And she was like, damn, you ripped that jacket apart.
It's like, you were never going to fit in that, but I applaud the effort.
All right, with that, I think we've reached the end of Wide Ocean Big Jacket. We've discussed it for about as long as it takes to play it, so feel free to play the game. It is a good time. It's a short game, and I appreciate that in these busy times, having a game that gets in, says what it has to say, and gets out. So, Em, it is now your turn to pick once again.
It's my turn. I am between 2 games. One is a game that I've already put 15 hours in the last couple of days. The other is a game that I saw on Steam while I was looking, and it looks cool as hell. So I will let you choose. Would you like a really aesthetically interesting game, or would you like a game that you can basically make play itself?
Oh, boy.
I mean, they're both good choices.
When you say basically make play itself, is it like you optimize a thing and then it plays itself?
Basically, yeah.
Or is it barely a game?
No, it is definitely a game. You are making choices, but more or less you are stopping and starting it as necessary to make your changes. Kind of a deck builder. It's Loop Hero is the option, if you've heard of that. It's been going around. And the other one is Narita Boy.
Okay, let me look these things up.
Yeah.
Are these both on the computer, on the PC?
Yeah, these are on Steam.
No, not Lop Hero. Loop.
How do you spell Narita Boy? Or
And-
Narita Boy?
Narita Boy.
So like Dorito, but N.
So like Naruto, but like not.
Like,
Are there ninjas?
replace half of those.
With completely different letters.
Yes.
Oh, is it Naruto? Is it with an A at the end? Naruto
Yes. Yeah.
boy? Okay. That does look very interesting.
Techno keys. Ooh,
Hmm.
techno sword. A lot of techno stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Tainted Stallions. Naruto boy looks pretty okay, but we play a lot of side-scrolling action games.
True.
We don't play as many weird card deck building things. Loop Hero looks more,
Looks wild.
more wild to me.
Yeah.
So I would say Loop Hero?
Okay, we'll do Loop Hero first, and then we'll come back around for Naruto Boy.
We'll loop back around.
Aha, got him.
Damn it. All right. Well, in that case, the next game we are playing is Loop Hero. We're getting into the zeitgeist again.
Oh yeah, this thing just dropped.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody else. This was a fun little jaunt.
And thank you, M.
Thank you. I have very little homework because I've already put 15 hours into Loop Hero. So, almost done.
And thank you, listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That's our email address. You can send us emails, and we will read them. You can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/deeplistens. And get hyped for the Giant Bomb Community Endurance Run, running April 9th through 11th. Raising money for Pencils of Promise. I'll be streaming a ludicrous amount, and you can find that on twitch.tv/thatpinguino, basically from Friday to Sunday. Whichever time period you're in, I will probably be streaming at some point, overlapping with when you're conscious. So, thank you. Until next time, peace!